When a classic hip-hop track hits you right in the chest, it almost feels like pure, raw, unbridled energy. But look closely at the data. What feels like a wall of sound in a typical modern mix is often a chaotic cloud of overlapping frequencies. Switch over to a Dr. Dre production, however, and that cloud snaps into clinical precision. Most conversations about Dre revolve around his massive cultural footprint, or how he leveraged his reputation to build the billion-dollar Beats Electronics empire with Jimmy Iovine. But inside the studio, his legacy is defined by technical obsession. For audio professionals, Andre Young functions as a rigorous acoustic engineer, establishing the modern high-fidelity bassline for the entire genre. The legendary Dre sound is not a feeling, a mood, or a happy accident. It is a highly specific, repeatable acoustic architecture. To understand exactly how it works, we have to look past the lyrics and reverse engineer the raw session data behind his most famous tracks. We are going to isolate the three core mechanics that build this architecture. First, ruthless monosumming, extreme SSL compression ratios, and high-fidelity interpolation. By deconstructing the mix of his 1999 masterwork, Still DRE, we can map exactly how these techniques work in practice. True genius in audio engineering doesn't happen by chance. To see Dre's, we need to focus entirely on the math happening behind the mixing desk. Let's bring Still DRE into a virtual mixing space to look at its spatial layout. This visualization shows the stereo field. Notice how the core foundational elements, the kick, bass, cello, lead vocals, and piano, are stacked directly on the center axis. Only secondary elements, like chorus vocals and synth plucks, exist on the far outer edges. This strict spatial discipline stems directly from Dre's early career as a DJ at Eve's After Dark in Los Angeles. Club PA systems are designed for raw volume, and they universally output audio in a single channel, mono. If a producer relies on stereo width to separate their instruments, the mix suffers from phase cancellation. When those wide stereo channels are collapsed into a single mono output at a club, the instruments cancel each other out, and the low-end punch disappears. To ensure his track survived this collapse, Dre enforced what's known as the Auratone technique. By checking the mix on a single, limited-range Auratone speaker at barely audible volumes, an engineer is forced to carve out distinct frequency spaces for every core element. If the kick and the bass are masking each other, you hear it immediately. Acoustic impact doesn't come from panning tracks left and right. It comes from dense, perfectly aligned acoustic energy, hitting the listener straight down the middle. That dense center creates an interesting paradox.